there, thank you so much for joining me for episode 4. Particular welcome today to new subscribers, especially those of you coming on over from Techmoan. Matt, I really appreciate the shout out on your recent Patreon video. You are one of the sort of titans of vintage tech. That's like a Mount Rushmore thing I was doing here on YouTube, and so it means a lot for you to say to your folks that I'm not doing half bad. I had an idea for this next video. I was going to do it on the mixtape. In fact, I filmed a whole cold open with a VHS camcorder, but I found myself today in Shelton, Connecticut, right by the Sikorsky helicopter plant. And there was a sign notifying all of us at the intersection that there was an estate sale right up the road. Now, if you don't know about estate sales, I did a video on the Magnavox branded CD player a couple of videos ago that was both about the CD player and about estate sales, so I'll leave that link in the description. I haven't been to an estate sale myself since probably January of 2020, so I decided to take a left-hand turn, drive up the hill, park, and see what was what. The information on the local estate sale website doesn't give you nearly enough of a feel for this house. The original section of the house itself was built in the 18th century, according to records I found online, and added to over the course of the 1940s, the 1950s, and the 1960s. It was pretty clear as I walked around that the house had last been decorated in about 1976. It was also pretty clear that the house had been closed up for weeks, if not months, before the estate sale began. I mean, there were spices in the kitchen cabinets from the 1980s. I kid you not. Now, I walked out of the estate sale with a pile of stuff for which I paid $12. And that pile went from the trunk of my car to the kitchen island downstairs. There are two items in particular that I'd like to show you. One of them is a record player. The other is a compact cassette tape. I do not know if this record player works. I do not know if there is anything on this tape, but I would like to go downstairs so that we can find out together. All right, so here's what I've got. This is a Boston electric pencil sharpener. As I've mentioned in a future video, I do teach middle school English, so it's always good to have one of these. This is a pile of postcards I got from a junk shop, so we won't talk about those. Okay. This is a booklet called Practical Lubrication for the Automobile. This was published in 1923 by Standard Oil. Don't need to talk about that in today's video, but it's fascinating. This is a cassette tape. It says Army on one side and it says Kinder on the other. I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm really curious what is on this tape, so we might have to talk about it in the compact cassette section. This is something that I really want to be able to look at today. We'll put that aside for just a moment. I got 3 LPs. This is Jesus Jones, Bring It On Down from 1989. This is They Might Be Giants' first album from 1986. And of course, the one and only Corey Hart. This is from 1986 as well. So again, as I mentioned in the voiceover, this house was a time capsule for sure. But here is the big deal, the pièce de résistance of this estate sale. This is a Technics SLJ2. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at this dusty old beast. This thing was sitting on top of a stereo cabinet and it was so covered in dust that when I went just now to write the word dust with my fingertip, I couldn't even get through the dust. That is how caked on this dust is. This is one of those cool quartz lock turntables where you can skip forward and skip back. Obviously, Techmoan has done many videos on this. As you can see, this thing looks to be completely cooked. It is covered in dust. It is covered in mold. And let's see if we can get this thing to work. All right, so I took a couple of pictures of the unit now that it's been cleaned. I also cleaned the pencil sharpener, if you're interested in such things. I don't know if that yet works because I can't get it to reach the power outlet over by the stove. But I gotta say, this Technics SLJ2 cleaned up pretty darn well with just some isopropyl alcohol, some glass cleaner, some lens cleaner, and a little bit of elbow grease. Some disinfecting wipes too, folks. There was mold. There was a lot of mold here on this unit. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab this They Might Be Giants album because it is not in a sleeve. It's a little bit cooked. I own the album on LP anyway. But let's first off see if this turns on. Yeah, looks like it turns on just fine. So the queuing light is on in the unqueued portion. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up here, show you the insides. I'm going to stick a little They Might Be Giants on here. I'm going to close it up. I've got the sensor set to medium, the speed set to auto, and the size set to auto. All right, I'm going to hit the Q button. I think that's how we do it. Wait a minute. Okay, good. Now it's green, which I guess means something important. And I think, right, do I just hit start? Just hit start. See what happens. Looks like it's queuing up. It's down on the record. And the record is not moving. So let's see if we can figure out what the problem is. Okay, so here's the situation. There was an issue with the rubber mat that sits on the platter. The mat wasn't sitting right, and so the turntable didn't know that there was a record in it. I took the mat out. The record is playing fine. I'm getting sound through this USB device that I have plugged in the back. It's running a little bit slow, but obviously that's going to be easy enough to fix. I will have to take the whole thing apart. But, you know, not too bad for something that I essentially paid, I don't know, $5 for. This is definitely one that I will rehab and give to a friend or a family member or a friend's kid who is starting a vinyl collection. This is a really good little unit to have around the house, and I think I can get it working pretty well. Now, I know you're all wondering about that tape with R+S on it, and I was too. So I grabbed an extra cassette deck from the basement, hooked it up to my laptop, pressed play, and discovered it really wasn't so interesting. I was hoping for passionate love letters or Oscar-worthy arguments, but the tape was like so many others of its time. Some young kids, probably in the 1960s, if the other detritus at the estate sale was any indication of time period, playing around with recording themselves on this newfangled compact cassette.
Here, let Mommy try this one out and see if I can get it.
Take the microphone off.
He comes popping it on. It's all. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, What happening? That's the way now.
And how about that tape with Army on one side and Kinder on the other? Well, the Army side was very clearly Army, just not an Army that I'm familiar with. And on the Kinder side, that was a real head scratcher too. Not even Shazam could help me out.
Guckst du, hast dich ganz gestohlen? Guckst du, hast dich ganz gestohlen? Guckst du, hast dich ganz gestohlen? Guckst du, hast dich ganz gestohlen?
Gib sie wieder.
I think the strange estate sale is going on for one more day, and there were a few more of these cassettes in a drawer. Maybe I'll go back, or maybe I'll just wait until the next sale. So there you have it, 2 items from an estate sale purchased on this hot and lazy day in July. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and the like button on the video, as well as leave a comment or 2 or 3 or 4 about what you might want to see in a future video. Until then, be well, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.